Welcome back, everybody. Game week 32 is upon us. SC Playbook, the EPL edition. 2 weeks off. We are refreshed, revitalised, and ready to roll into the final 6 weeks of this campaign. My name is Alex Molchanoff. Matt Jurman, the former Socceroo, is beside me. How have you enjoyed the 2 weeks of international? A fair bit has unfolded since we last gathered here.
Yeah,
hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen you. It's been
Are you
a while.
okay? We talk quickly.
Been struggling.
Doing all right? Haven't had the focus. Had to resort to the NRL land.
Yeah,
the Dragons aren't offering you much respite either.
Nah. Yeah, the Dragons have been struggling for me NRL-wise, so it's good to get my head back on this space and look at my team with no trades left. So, yeah, not much I can do here, but I'm looking forward to this game week. I think if you get your captaincy right here, it can be a good one.
And if you can get your trades right, for those of you who have them left, there's a little bit of ground to be made up. The chase is on, Matty. I've been chasing you all year, and suddenly the margin is down to 126 points with 7 weeks to go. Confident? Can you hold on over the course of, 7 game weeks?
Confident,
no trades?
yeah. Confident. Yeah.
Confident. Okay. Interesting. We'll get into these teams in just a moment. A reminder, SC Playbook, NRL, it's underway. AFL, underway. You can join the community for just $2. scplaybook.com.au. If you're a very late subscriber, still log into our SC Playbook League and see if you can claim yourself $1,000 for first prize if you're a subscriber, 500 to the winner and 500 to the top subscriber. If you're not, it's less than your daily cup of coffee. There's a big winter coming up across the website. Timmy Williams is all amongst it. Steve Nikolovsky, all the boys getting into their second favourite sports. The main focus, of course, is the football and what they can come up with over the dying few weeks. We've got a couple of guys in the top 1,000. Oscar Henderson's up there. So make sure you're following along, getting along in the Discord chat and getting a hold of everything. Matty, so long has passed, I've almost forgotten what happened last week. But
Yep.
I've gone back to the scores, sort of rearranged everything. It was that week where all the Arsenal players and all the City players were out. So the Carabao Cup final, Arsenal beaten there and then beaten in the FA Cup. So the bottle job narrative is beginning to come into firmer focus again for us. But it does mean they've just got a clean slate of games for us from Supercoach perspective till the end of the season, which is not the case for some of the other clubs around there. How are you seeing their assets sit at this stage?
Yeah, I think it's a blessing in disguise for us with Arsenal players. I think they're more focused on winning the Premier League now, and yeah, I think it would be an absolute disaster if they were to avoid winning anything this year. After being so close in so many competitions, so I think their focus will really be on this in the Champions League now, and. There's not many games in terms of Champions League left as well. So, I think now for us with Arsenal assets, I think you can really trust them now to play most games, and every game's like a grand final for them to be able to win the Premier League.
And we've also got a look at what I think Mikel Arteta sees as his best team heading home. He rested a lot of them for the game against Southampton, hence them being knocked out. And then they played a pretty close to full-strength side against Sporting today. So in the attacking third, it means Bukayo Saka, if you're still holding him, get off straight away. Declan Rice, back in from the start, has been ever reliable. I think Martin Zubimendi's going to be the first option in the centre of midfield. Martin Odegaard played 70 minutes, didn't play supremely well. That could be one I'd be looking at. And then the back four, Gabriel Saliba back together, Raya in goal, kept a clean sheet. Calafiori, you held on to him for 2.5 months, ready for this last run home. Well done to you. And Ben White, who had a shocking friendly series with England, but has come back in and been part of a team that's kept a clean sheet after barely playing all season. So there could be one just flying under the radar for some looking to get rid of Mark Cucurella as we get towards things. Now, the reason I bring Cucurella up, we have the teams that are going to be blanking in game week 34 with FA Cup semi-finals. But what we do know now is that they'll be having double game weeks the week before in game week 33. So it's looking like if you've got the trades, 3 between 33 and 34 would be the way to go. Brighton versus Chelsea, Bournemouth versus Leeds, and Burnley versus Manchester City. City, that is the back end of their game week where they're taking on Arsenal at the front end. So
Yep.
there's a little bit of juggling to be done there. I think the biggest sign out of this, though, Matty, is the Chelsea assets. So Joao Pedro's, who's hit a really hot string of form, Cole Palmer, Mark Cucurella moving out sooner rather than later, or are we just holding? I'm tending to think I might be able to get one or two more scores out of them. Maybe not Cucurella, but Palmer is just that juicy bit of forbidden fruit for us Supercoach players, isn't he?
Yeah, I think Palmer's a big difference for teams now. You know, he's back from injury, and you know you'd expect him to have a big end to the season with World Cup selection coming up. They do have Man City and Man United coming up, so probably not the games to want to hold them for, but at the same time, Chelsea are a big team as well, and you know they're always up for an upset on their day, and I think they need to start getting results if they want to be in the top four as well. So yeah, but Cucurella, he could be one that you could trade out for someone around that price range. Yeah, we'll speak about trades later on, but there's a few players that you could trade him out for and probably have better fixtures on the way home.
So I had in my mind that game where Palmer had just made the transfer across from Manchester City, obviously came up in their academy and went across to Chelsea, scored in their first game against Manchester City. He hasn't managed to do that since. So that's what I'm sort of looking at. I was wrangling with that this morning going, what am I going to do here? But the stats don't quite bear out that he scores against this opposition. Which you'd expect. They're right at the top tier, and perhaps you're right. Maybe I should be looking at moving him on. We'll continue this wrangle I'm having in my own head at the moment. Brighton, Yankuba Minte, who I just brought in before the international break, unfortunately. Jean-Paul Van Hecker are going to be affected by this going into that game against Chelsea. Bournemouth, Ryan, who I've been very strong on. You're still an owner of Marcus Senesi. Who'll be affected by this as well. Leeds, Joe Rodon is there. Burnley, not too many holding their assets. But then for Manchester City, Aït-Nouri, Haaland, Foden, Cherki, Gahey. Any of those you'd be targeting. I only bring this up because of Haaland and because of the fact he scored 3 against your Liverpool in the Cup on the weekend. Yeah. Looked back to form. Was so sharp in taking a couple of those chances. Is there any argument to bringing him back in if you have been one of those who's let him go, or back your judgment, let it ride?
I mean, I think Haaland, he was always going to come back into form at some stage, especially with these big games coming up to end the season. And they need him in form to be fair to if they're going to have any chance of catching Arsenal and winning the Prem. So I mean, their run home's not crazy bad. They've got obviously big games against Chelsea and Arsenal, which could decide the title, you know. So
I think it will by the end of things. I mean, that Everton trip away towards the end, Villa coming to town on the final day, perhaps looking for European glory, but it's the next two that are the big challenge, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, they've got a game in hand on Arsenal, which is, you know, that will be a massive one for them to get a bit closer. And then if they beat Arsenal, it's going to be a very interesting way to the end of the season. So you almost want it to happen as a neutral, you know.
Jeez.
As a neutral,
you've got a cruelty in you, Matty.
As a neutral, you want it to happen, so you can it will go to the last day. You know, it'll be one of those how Man City, you know, won on that last day against QPR all those years ago. It could be one of those ones again. So interesting times to see what happens. I think Haaland's going to be in the thick of it. He's motivated to end the season well. He wants to be Golden Boot, and yeah, I think if Man City's got any chance of catching Arsenal, he needs to be in form.
I heard someone put it to me the other day that if City win their game in hand and then Arsenal have basically, they can afford to lose one and draw one. They can afford to drop 4 points this season and still be champions. I can see them managing to stuff that up. So it's going to be I mean, let's have a look at their run home quickly, because we've talked about their assets and how they're brought in. Bournemouth this week at home is when you'd expect them to get over the line in. That City's a big red blinding alarm. Newcastle at home, Fulham at home, West Ham away. Burnley at home, Palace away. I think the biggest thing for them now is the fact that a lot of those teams they're going to be playing against are going to be on the beach somewhat. You know, Newcastle are not really in a position to push for European football any longer. I mean, they're 4 points out of that, but do they want to be playing Conference League that desperately? And they've got to jump so many teams to do it. Fulham are in a similar situation. West Ham in a relegation scrap.
That could be a tough game. Yeah.
That could be difficult going away from home. I think Burnley will already be relegated by the time they play them. And Crystal Palace are in that sort of modicum of mediocrity to put them there as well. So
well, that would be their last game with the head coach.
Yes.
And maybe some players as well. So they're probably already tapped out. But yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of teams that will be on the beach by then, but at the same time, playing with no pressure can also maybe be a good thing. You know, Man City's playing with, a lot of pressure. They need to win almost every game to catch Arsenal. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because there's some of our assets in some of those teams that are playing Man City in those games, and you'd hope they pick up some points for you.
Yeah, 100%. Let's have a quick look at some of the injury updates from over the international break and what we've seen out of the FA Cup and Champions League so far. So Ebery Eze has been ruled out 4 to 6 weeks with a calf injury, didn't play for England, is not looking too likely to feature very often. Looks like a value asset once he's back in, but you are going to be waiting a couple of weeks. Gabriel and Saliba, neither of them played international football during the break. Obviously, France and Brazil already qualified, so they were looking to move forward. And as we told you, both played in the Champions League this morning against Sporting. Reece James, hamstring injury. It's expected that he might actually take his place this weekend, but that's going to be a closer watch. Certainly, if you're a holder, you've been very, very trustworthy, or very, very trusting, I should say. Yes, look for the team sheets there. Trevor Chalobah, ugly injury against PSG, 4 to 5 weeks out. Mohamed Salah returned after the international break, Matty. What happened in that FA Cup game? It didn't look like Mohamed Salah, did it?
No, and I think, like I said before to you, before the potty started, the Liverpool players looked all right, before they copped the first goal, and then after that they're just different team, like lost complete confidence, and I mean there's comments from the captain saying that they stopped trying, but I mean, I don't think the players stopped trying. I think they've just lost confidence, and playing against a big club like that, usually these are the games that they're usually up for, and it's a closer game, but yeah, it didn't happen. And Mohamed Salah is, I know he's announced that he's going to be leaving, and I'm sure he wanted to end the season with the trophy, hopefully. So I'm sure he's disappointed by that performance for sure.
We'll get to Liverpool as a whole in just a moment, but Ekitike's strike partner there had a thigh problem, was taken off early in that game before the international break, has been back, turned up a pretty good chance early in that game against Manchester City. Hopefully he can find his scoring boots again. Robin Ruffs, if you did move him in as Uriah move, expected to be back for Sunderland's first game over the course of the weekend against Tottenham at home. And Dan Ballard is expected to be in that same situation as his goalkeeper. So hopefully a little bit more sturdy Sunderland defence than the one that was knocked out of the cup by Port Vale before the international break. Let's get to Liverpool just quickly. Defeat in the cup against City. Obviously, Arne Slot's under pressure. How are you expecting them to finish the season? Because I think there's plenty of Supercoach players out there that are looking at a couple of them as a bit of value. Ekitike is still listed pretty low, just over the $8 million mark. Florian Wirtz had been a thought before the international break. I'm not sure if he still is now, and Dominic Szoboszlai is still one of the highest owned players inside the top 10% of owners in the game so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at their fixtures now. I think it's not the easiest run home. Like, there is some tough games in there, but if they want to be in that top 4, they need to be winning at least 70% of those games, which they should be, have a good chance of winning those games. Ekitike, I think, is a good pod then, if that's a percent of players that have kept him. I think he's very important for them to actually score goals at the moment. With their other players not really looking that threatening, especially like Salah. On the weekend, Isak's back, so that could change things. Maybe he gets less minutes if he's going to be put back in, but I feel like they wouldn't really rush him back if he's not ready 100%, and he'll probably come off the bench as well. So Ekitike is probably a good chance to score some points on the way home. I hope. I've held him and can't trade him out. So
No.
And Sabazlai, I think he's been their best player this year. So, but in saying that, I heard Frimpong's got injured again, so he might be moving to a right back role potentially. They've got Gomez there as well, so there's a few options. But I hope he stays in midfield, because that's where he looks dangerous, and he's always got an assist or a goal not far away. So
let's hope he can retain that form. And Ekitike, owned by 13% of owners at the moment, sitting 8.6 mil. I think there are worse places to spend that money. If you're going between, here's a theoretical, because I'm sure there'll be a few there with one or the other. Choosing between him and Haaland to end the season, which are you going with?
I'd have to go with Haaland, to be honest, just because they've got more to play for.
I tend to agree.
Yeah.
How much is Europe a motivating factor? Because they're still sitting in that 5th position. That's going to qualify them again this year. They're only a point ahead of Chelsea as we sit here ahead of the second lot of Champions League games on Thursday.
I think it's a big factor. I think that sometimes is a big factor for players joining a club. If they're playing Champions League football or not. And Liverpool's a big club. They want to be playing Champions League, and they've
they spent to be playing Champions League, didn't
they, this
season?
So the players that have come in this season, they want to be playing Champions League. So. And it also helps attracting players for next season as well. So regardless if the coach is going to be there or not, I think the players, they definitely want to be up there and playing Champions League next year. And they're 5 points behind Villa, so it's still catchable, but they need to be winning most games.
Personally, would you? Yeah, I agree. Personally, would you prefer Slot stays or goes? Keep the faith or move on and give it to maybe a Xabi Alonso?
Yeah, if you're going to be bringing in a guy like him, being a Liverpool fan, that would be someone that a lot of fans would like to see take over. I feel like Slot's got a bit of credit behind him because he's won the Prem, but at the same time, I think they're sort of getting over it.
Hasn't been particularly inspiring this season.
No, it hasn't, and it's been a quick turnaround in terms of results compared to last year, and I feel like the fans have a short memory in terms of results, So they've spent big money, and I think they expected to, be up there challenging Arsenal and Man City this season, and it just hasn't happened.
We'll see just how things finish off. So Fulham at home, and then Merseyside derby against Everton in game week 33. That is a massive one.
Huge.
To be looking forward to at the Hill Dickinson Stadium as well. And the fact of the matter is that Everton are in such a close position. They could actually topple Liverpool for Champions League football coming into that game. What a campaign the Toffees have had. Right, let's get to some of the most traded in and traded out. Help you structure yourselves. I think our overall advice this week is hold wherever possible. The only ones I can sort of, as a general rule, be pushing out of your sides are the Chelsea assets. Manchester City this week, a difficult double game week. But having said that, if you have got enough license and enough trust in a Palmer, a Cucurella, an Enzo Fernandez, a Joao Pedro to get you a score in one of these games, I'd be pushing you to hold. I'm, as you can tell, having this internal wrestle with myself this week. So we'll get to all that in just a moment. Right, let's go. Most traded in. Haaland, 9.7 mil. People have seen the change in the Cup this week. I don't think there's any surprise in that. Declan Rice is back, fully fit. Base stats monster. You and I have held him the entire year because of what an asset he is, and takes a free kick or two as well, which we always say Arsenal are due for. Igor Thiago, 9.7 mil. Brentford's run-in is Everton away, Fulham away, United away. Everton at home, Fulham at home, United away, West Ham at home, City away. It's tricky. you can see him capitalising in one or two of those games. I almost look at Thiago there and go, if Ekitike performs, maybe he's the one that I move for Haaland after game week 34. I can see a world where I'm doing that. How are you seeing Brentford in this run home? They're part of that glut of four chasing Liverpool at the moment.
Yeah, I don't mind that, actually. I think you hold him for these next two games, and then you could also trade him out to Haaland 34 when their fixtures get a lot harder. So, yeah, I can see that happening. I think Thiago's obviously had a great season so far. His breakout season, and he's,
sounds like he's going to be going to the World Cup with Brazil as well.
Rewarding to get him picked for the national team, which is a massive thing. And yeah, I think there's a lot to play for him. Personally, if all these players that want to go to the World Cup, they've got to finish the season strong. So I guess that's something that we didn't touch on before, was these teams that are playing for nothing really. There's some players that have got their personal goals that they want to go to a World Cup.
And you can speak to that better than anyone, Matty, because that's sort of the situation you were in 2018, right?
Yeah, and it's a massive thing. You want to tick off that box as a player. Go to a World Cup. It's a massive thing that only comes every 4 years. So yeah, I'm sure all these players that are still playing, they want to finish the season strong, regardless on what their club's paying for at the moment, even if they're in the relegation zone.
Yeah, that's a really bright point you make there. Anton Semenyo, 10.1 mil. What do you made of his? There is a thought out there.
Sorry, who's that?
Anton Semenyo.
Oh, Semenyo, yeah.
Great header he scored against Liverpool. Fantastic form, as we've touched on all year. There's probably an argument out there as well that you could move for him ahead of Haaland if you're trying to make up ground, as somebody sitting in this room is on a close competitor and mate.
I would look towards him for sure. I think he's been in great form again, and last time we sat here we were talking about him, and I think he's someone that you could really. What's the percentage of people that have him?
Less than Haaland, I can tell you that much. Haaland's sitting just over the 50% mark as we went into the podcast. I'll grab this for you quickly.
Yeah, because I feel like he's someone that you could really jump ranks with if he's playing every week, which he is. That's a player that's in form, scoring goals, assists. He's someone that is always around the box where Haaland is as well, but at the same time, if you can go for someone that's got less people holding him, it's a good way to jump me.
And I'll tell you what, the other thing as well, he's sort of fitting into two different roles for Pep Guardiola, is when he needs someone to sit up next to Haaland, and now Marmoush seems to be out for the remainder of the year. He can sit up there and do that, or he can play in the wide role and try and provide that way. Sorry, Supercoach is absolutely dudding me here with their interface loading. Here we go. We're finally there, and we're looking for Antoine Semenyo at 10.1 mil. Is owned by 10% of players versus Haaland's just over 50.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit more expensive.
Option.
Yeah, a bit more expensive, but not that much more. And he could be the difference on the way home, on the run home. So he's been in great form, and I feel like it's a great trade in if you're looking for someone with not too many people owning him.
Here's someone you were early on, Matty Cash, 6.5 mil, had the injury mid-year, has come back into form, and Villa, although the fact that they haven't been striking the back of the net as much as they would have liked to over the course of their season, their defence has been outstanding for the majority, and their run-in is one of the easiest in the competition before they meet Liverpool and Manchester City in game week 37 and 38. So there is a thought towards their assets being more valuable as well.
Yeah, like Villa's run home, they've got a lot to play for as well, in keeping that Champions League spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's a great trade in, especially for someone that you're looking at Cucurella going out. He could be the one that you trade.
I'm really liking him, having a look at things this week. People are flocking back to David Raya now that Arsenal don't have that blank game week in a few weeks' time at 7.1 mil. I'm sure that clean sheet on the weekend didn't hurt. Here's a guy you've been high on this season, Matty Bowen, 11.6 mil. West Ham in that relegation scrap, but got the draw against Manchester City before we went to the international break. I think a few people have forgotten that. And they go into a game against Wolves on Saturday morning. Hello.
Yeah, I think if I had one trade left, he'd be probably the one
it. There
I'm
we
looking
go.
at. He's someone that heavily relied on from West Ham, and they got good fixtures coming up. I feel like he's going to be in the thick of it for them to have any chance of staying in the Premier League.
So I'll put him head to head with a Harry Wilson, for example. Could you move for Bowen ahead of him?
Yeah, I could.
Yeah,
I could, especially when he's playing up front as well.
Mm.
It's sort of a steal for a midfielder in this game. So, yeah, I mean, obviously he's been in good form as well. But I feel like Bowen's, he's the main man for West Ham. They really rely on him.
No, and Fulham's run in, not the easiest. So Liverpool this week, they've got Villa visiting, Arsenal at the Emirates, and then a tidy little last three, which might just keep Harry Wilson in my thoughts there. That's another little conundrum I've got. That Cole Palmer trade is going to happen at some stage, and Wilson and Bowen are probably competing. Along with this man, James Garner, 11.6, has been whipping in crosses for fun. Everton right amongst the chasers for Europe, and Manchester City and Liverpool, again, probably the two toughest that they have, both visiting the Hill Dickinson, which has not been an easy task for opposing sides so far this season.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the total amount of points, and James Garner's number 5.
He's just
we haven't really spoke about him
up. He's been brilliant
enough this season. I didn't realise how well he's done, but yeah, he could be a big one. I mean, I'm not sure how many people own him, but he's been in great form.
4%, Paddy.
4%. So that's what I mean. No one really talks about him because he's sort of been doing his job and earning points week to week. He could be a good trade-in to end the season as well. No one really owning him.
Everton, this is going to make my decision very difficult. I'm glad we've got a couple of weeks just to get ahead of ourselves here. But West Ham away, Palace away, Spurs away, Sunderland coming to visit, and as I mentioned, those two big teams.
Not the worst fixtures.
No, exactly right. And teams that have had problems defending some set pieces over the course of the year as well, which have been very fruitful for Everton. David Moyes, Who thought he'd be getting it done 20 years later?
Back there again, yeah.
Timmy and Fellaini reincarnate.
It's actually good to see. Obviously watching the derbies growing up, it was always a close game between those two when Timmy was there and Moyes was coach. And I think it's always nice to see someone like end up at the team that they love, and he might finish there. Who knows? But
going back to the old flame as well, you don't see that work too often.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, he had success, and the only reason he left was because a bigger club came in for him, and that didn't work out. But it's always nice to see.
Silverware with West Ham in the interim. He's one of the forgotten men, David Moyes. He's done a very good job. One I've had thrown at me this week, and he's 10th on the list of most traded in. He's been talked about in England dispatches. Danny Welbeck, 7.4 mil. I can't get around Brighton. I just had too much trust in them over the course of the year. But their run-in's not too bad. They've got the blank game week in 34, so I wouldn't be moving towards them before that. But Newcastle, Wolves, Leeds after that, and then Manchester United at home to finish the season, a team they've had a very, very good record against over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, I mean, the fixtures are mixed. They're mixed.
The only thing I can, and this is off the back of 2 goals against Liverpool before the international break. So this is the reason that people are getting excited about him. However, I do wonder about whether he's going to be getting the weight of minutes. Yeah, he's played 90 minutes. I'm just going back through his games here. He's played 90 minutes the last 2 games, but was off the bench before that. Like he hasn't been as consistent a starter as I think the general narrative in England about his potential call-up has put forth. And, 35 years of age, there's a lot of nous there. 4 goals in his last 4 starts, but there have been a few bench stints and little 20-minute cameos in between that.
Yeah, I think getting the call-up for a national team gives you a lot of confidence, and when you're in that setup, it definitely motivates you to try and stay there. So, especially with a big tournament like the World Cup coming up, I think he would love to finish the season strong. And yeah, I think Brighton on their day, they can really beat anyone. And the teams that they've got, definitely beatable teams, all of them. Tottenham, you just don't really know what's going to happen now with the new coach coming in. So it'll be interesting to see how they finish the season. Playing against teams like Brighton, they need to win. So
it'll be that one after game week 34 that I'm interested in, because Ryan's going to have that same little period where he's going to have the double game week, then sit down, and then there will literally be, there'll be a head-to-head argument in terms of whether to make that change. So as most advice this week, just hold off. Most traded out, top of the list is Ekitike. I think that was off the back of the news around the quads injury. We'll stress again, he's fit. He's good to go.
Reverse.
Reverse
trades.
Reverse that trade. As long as Alex Isak's name doesn't appear on the team sheet on Sunday morning. Cole Palmer, Joao Pedro, Enzo are the next three. I think we understand why.
They're probably trading him out for Haaland. That's probably what's happened. They've seen the game in the weekend, and they're just like, nah, I need to get Haaland back in. And you can understand if they're doing that, or they're going to Semenyo or someone like that. That's that's up to them. But depending on how many trades you got left, that maybe hold tight for at least this week.
Is there any thought that you'd move towards Ekitike instead, just because you're not going to get it, or do you move there before the double game week? I guess that depends on the situation with the amount of trades you have.
He's also projected to lose 1.2 mil. Yeah. So if people are still thinking about that, that could be a reason why, because they wouldn't be able to trade to one of those Man City assets if they left it a week later. But for me, with no trades, losing cash doesn't matter.
You're the neutral voice of reason here for us today, Matt. So we appreciate that. Alisson, Chalobah, Salah, we've sort of outlined the reasons behind their move out. Malik, yours an interesting one. And again, this is not a massive sample size, less than the 20 trades out, but 8.5 mil. He's someone who's just going to be there and be consistent. Newcastle will not be playing that well, but...
Well, he didn't start last game.
Yeah.
So that was an issue for me, because I traded him in with the 3 that I had left, and he came on because I can't remember who it was, got injured. I think it was in the first half even. Yep. So he's come on, and I think they've still end up losing, but hopefully he's back in the starting lineup now, and Newcastle can finish the season strong. And he's had a decent season in the centre of the defence, so hopefully he can stay there.
Just looking, so Sven Botman who went off, and he seems as though he has recovered. I can't find any injury news on him at the moment, so keep an eye on the Newcastle team list there. We're giving you a couple of alternatives to throw in at the back. 8.5 mil is a nice amount to spend there. Mark Cucurella, the last one I want to touch on, 6.2 mil. He's the one I can be sold on. Him to cash, 300k, a little bump up, but I've got that in the bank. I think that's going to be my only trade this week, Matty, is just get the reliable option in there, manoeuvring myself a little bit for the blank game weeks in a couple of weeks' time, because at the moment I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 assets who are going to be involved in that. So I'd like to lessen my exposure a little bit there. So I think that's going to be my line move.
Yeah, I like it. I think Villa's fixtures to end the season are really strong, and they're really favoured in those games, and they need to win if they're going to be Champions League team. So how many trades you got left?
I got 5. 5 with 7
perfect.
weeks to play.
Perfect for you, because you got 5 players that you want to put out. So. It's just picking the right times to trade them out, I guess. Any boost?
2 boosts. Can use one of the... I think I will be using one of those in a couple of weeks' time. But we still got one more week to sort of take in, see how that's all going to play out, and then we'll sit down again and discuss. What do you think about in terms of captaincy this week? Because there's Arsenal players coming back in abundance. They're playing against Bournemouth. Manchester United have got Leeds. And some of those loop options have fallen by the wayside. The one thing I like about United, I must say, is the fact they're playing on Tuesday morning, so you'll get to see if one of your players has been unavailable, and it's going to be a nice little loop option for you. Hello.
Yeah, hello. I think that's true. Yeah, it's the last fixture. For me, I don't have many loop options unless someone's out. So for now, I've got to be very careful with my captaincy choice, and I'm pretty sure I know who I'm going to go to.
Yep. Okay. So Bruno?
Yep.
Bruno, lock
Yep.
that down.
Yep.
Who have you got as a vice, just in keeping with consistency over the course of the season on this podcast?
Yeah, at the moment I've got Declan Rice.
Yep.
I think either him or Gabriel, but yeah, I'm leaning towards Declan at the moment.
Great minds. I was thinking Gabriel. I think Arsenal, given the solid performance they put in this morning against Sporting, are right at the races. The only other one I could be tempted towards was Szoboszlai, but you've mentioned the doubts about which position he'll be playing, and that's enough to sort of warn me off and keep everybody sort of sat and very consistent.
I mean, you can sort of, I don't know, Arsenal the day before, so or the couple of hours before. So yeah, you probably have to pull the trigger there with the VC.
Yeah, that's it. It's one or the other. But these 9:30 kickoffs, how good. We can just sit up, nice and comfortable, good, no alarms going off, nothing too late. We'll be right amongst it. I tell you what, this is going to be a fun ride home, Matty. I'm really looking forward to it. Looking forward to coming in and chatting about it every week. Make sure you sign up, scplaybook.com.au if you haven't already. Although, let's be real, if you're listening to us at this stage of the season, you're one of the diehards. You're one of the ride or dies. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your company. And we hope you enjoy the Premier League. Back for the first time in a couple of weeks over the course of the weekend. West Ham versus Wolves gets it all kicked off 5 a.m. Saturday morning in Australia. Arsenal versus Bournemouth Saturday special on at 9:30. Looking forward to that. Matty, best of luck over the course of the weekend.
Thank you.
And we'll be back to recap it all and look ahead to those double game weeks next week. But for now, it's goodbye.